I'm Mike.
I'm Nathan.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Victor.
And this is The Big N.
So today on the show, we're going to be talking about Nintendo's presentation at E3, and our review for this episode is going to be Kirby Planet Robobot. We would also like to take this opportunity to thank our viewers for giving us feedback for this episode. We have taken your comments to heart, and we hope this follow-up episode addresses your concerns. Please continue to send us in your thoughts and comments.
Before we get into our episode today, we'd like to introduce our guests a bit. So, Jeff and Victor, we'd just like to hear your thoughts a bit about Nintendo and your relationship with the company. Jeff, I'll start with you.
Alright, so my first Nintendo game was Kirby's Dream Land 1, or as it was known at the time, Kirby's Dream Land. With the white Kirby on the box. He didn't even have color back in those good days. So my first, system was the original Game Boy. After that, I was sort of aware of the original Nintendo, but I never had one. Until one day I got a Sega Genesis and was distraught at animals being turned into robots, despite the fact that I knew that was the premise of Sonic, but I pretended to be suffering from the dizziness and traded in my Genesis for Super Nintendo, despite vastly preferring Sonic as a character. So after that, I've gotten every major Nintendo console and handheld.
Mm-hmm. And Victor?
Yeah, one of my earliest memories ever as a kid is playing N64 for the first time, Super Mario 64. That was my first game.
Yeah, one of my first too.
Yeah, that was just a classic. It's changed the landscape of 3D platforming and 3D games in general. It was like that landmark of a game. I loved video games from that point on, and I played as many as I could. I played the original Nintendo at like friends' houses. I just wanted to get my hands on video games, and Nintendo was really the core of it. Kind of just saved gaming within the video game crash, and it really sets kind of the industry standard at the time, and it has always been the place for innovation when it comes to games. So really love Nintendo, and yeah, ever since N64, I've been getting all the main consoles. I dabbled in handheld as a kid, but now I've just been more on the core consoles now. So excited to see what they have come up soon.
Yeah, hopefully on a future episode we can finally talk about the NX.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of things on the show today, and E3, at first we thought it was just going to be Zelda and Pokemon, but we got a couple more games to talk about. But we're going to start with Pokemon because it was the first thing shown on the first day, Pokemon Go and Pokemon Sun and Moon. So let's talk about Pokemon Go. We got a few more details. It's going to be released late in July, coming up. There's I guess we wouldn't say it's a handheld device, but an accessory, so to speak, that goes with the mobile game that's going to be on sale, at least in Canada, for $44.99. And really didn't show anything really new. It just showed some kind of basic things of catching gyms. So let's just start sharing our thoughts. I'll start with Nathan.
Alright, so for those of you who don't know, I'll just go a quick explanation of Pokemon Go. Just in case anybody is unaware. Pokemon Go is Nintendo's new smartphone app, they called it. They didn't call it a game, which for whatever reason. So this one is Pokemon basically in real life. So what happens in the game is you walk around your town or city, whatever, what have you, and Pokemon will appear on your map. Then you can, once you press a button or whatever, you can try and catch the Pokemon. So so it's basically we can finally have Pokemon Adventure now in real life that we always dreamed of having as a kid.
We hope.
Yeah, hopefully, yes.
Depending on, if it actually works.
That's a dream, man. It's I remember as a kid, I just want to go out and catch Pokemon. So they better make the dream reality.
And now you can do it sort of on your phone.
Yeah. AR is one of those things that's tricky because there's latency issues, there's camera issues. So it's definitely a newer thing that people are targeting. I like it more in VR right now, and I think it's a healthy use of mobile devices.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think with every bit of information we've gotten since the announcement of Pokemon Go, it's become more and more disappointing as far as what we've seen and what it originally promised.
Yeah, true.
I mean, once you the original trailer, of course, because it's using crazy CG and such, it's gonna look awesome and oh man, it is Pokemon in real life, and the augmented reality seems so great, and now it's it's the 3DS models in lower resolution somehow.
Yeah, and I remember there was a few kind of odd I guess, sort of specifics, and they talked about the game. Like, I remember just filling up, it's like, catch, like, 25 Squirtle, and once you catch 25, you'll be able to evolve into Ward Turtles. I'm like, oh, so you want us to grind catches? Like,
Yeah,
that does not
weird.
sound very fun.
See, the thing about phone apps is that it gets into this, like, microtransaction kind of freemium kind of idea where it's like you have to grind in order to enjoy the game or get what you want, and then they're probably going to do some sort of payment model, which I don't know if they shed light on.
They did not talk about
So, like, that's
that.
what I'm worried about.
I don't even so much mind the microtransaction thing because it's with a Pokemon game. That's what's going to happen if it's on the mobile device. Like, it's great. Like, you miss with a regular Pokeball, message pops up for $1.99. You can buy like 5 Ultra Balls.
Like
That'll
Pokemon
guarantee
Shuffle.
it. Yeah, but like the way they're doing it, like you said, Mike, there's just weird things with how the game mechanics work. Like, there's no, despite the fact that battles exist, there's no traditional leveling. It's just a weird sort of. The company doesn't seem to understand. Like Niantic, I think, is the mobile company that's making it. They don't seem to understand like the core part of Pokemon and why people like it. At the same time, I understand they didn't want to just make a no-story version of the games, but there's better ways to go about it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few interesting things. Like, I like how, like, the gym battles, it's like a player takes over a gym, they're on the gym now, and then you can challenge them, so it kind of creates a bit of a dynamic there. But then there's a few kind of different odd things. Like, there's that one scene from the video showing, like, a bunch of people in New York trying to catch Mewtwo. I'm like, how's that going to work? Does it require, like, a group of 10 people? Like, let's all go downtown and catch a legendary because it's, this one place.
I think that was just Flash. I don't think that was indicative of the actual end product at all.
Okay, well, that's good. I don't think anyone wants to take a group of 10 people.
I'm looking forward to the
This is like
multiplayer aspects of it, though, because everyone has a smartphone, so everyone, more common than any handheld, be able to play together. So
We'll need to see more of the battle system, though, before we could decide what the multiplayer aspect is going to be like.
Yeah, I mean, one thing they also didn't show a lot of, but I guess we didn't really need to know of, is Pokemon Sun and Moon, where we kind of got a repeat trailer. We got a few additional details, but, like, it's safe to say that this is one franchise where Nintendo's continuing to just play it safe and, just kind of showing what there is. We really didn't get a lot.
We got 3 new Pokemon, though.
Yes.
I'm going to say
Don't's hair.
Rowlet is the best.
I always like fire,
Blessed.
so...
No, Rowlet, very blessed, very blessed. I don't even cared about a grass starter before. But that owl.
Not many people care about grass starters.
But that owl, yo.
I think this
okay.
might be my first... No, I did Turtwig, but Rowlet is the best one.
Yeah, Rowlet is the best one.
Grass flying, great type, yeah.
I like my Litten.
Litten.
Lit.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And then there's the
memes, that's
goddamn
great.
clown Pokemon. Clown.
Hey, that's
I like the fan art
Clowns.
where it's like the like Tim Curry clown, but
Oh, God.
merged into like a seal shape. Like,
Oh,
That's pretty scary.
Callsfield Team 6.
It was like, don't come near me or my son again. It's Blathers.
well, same as like even Litten. There's a lot of fun fan art of like it's the child of like Blaze and Shadow from Sonic because one's a fire cat, one has
so
Litten's
edgy.
exact
no.
color scheme.
That's not talking about. Anthropomorphic animal.
Yeah. But, so this game, it takes place in sort of Hawaii, or that's where they've drawn their inspiration from. And now the map is sort of 5 islands, so we're back to, I guess, surfing again. I guess that's fashionable after...
7.8.
It could
8
be
out of 10 too much
both.
water.
Both, yeah.
Or the
IGN please
flying.
review.
Can Pikachu surf again?
I don't think they confirmed.
Yeah, I can
hilarious
see
they
that
brought
coming
back.
back. Well, because like the last game, they had like 5 cosplay Pikachus, so
Okay.
I could see them incorporating surfing Pikachu back into
That'd be
things.
great. I love to see
Because Pokemon Yellow is my first Pokemon game, so I just have fond memories of surfing Pikachu.
Well, you can transfer that Pikachu into the new ones because the Game Boy re-releases have been confirmed to work with Sun and Moon, and they also confirmed surfing Pikachu's in
There
that
we
one.
we just figured it out.
Yeah.
Let's get this red and blue.
I mean-
and put Surfing Pikachu back in.
It is kind of amazing that, like, out of the side, that they've somehow kept, like, 4 generations of Pokemon. You're somehow able to transfer them all the way up to the
That's
3DS.
crazy.
Like,
Yeah, since 3, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
no, we're not stuck in Gen 1 and 2 anymore, where you couldn't move them up to GBA. They're kind of stuck on your Game Boy. That was kind of sad, and I couldn't move any of my childhood Pokemon over.
Yeah, so it's sort of an interesting thing, and they did confirm that there is now some customization of characters. I mean, people were quite upset, I think, when they took that away from X and Y.
No, it was
No,
in
it was-
X and Y. They took
Oh,
it away
sorry.
from
Horace.
Omega and
Yeah.
It's like
Alpha.
Worse, yeah.
But we don't know if it's like full customization, correct?
I think it will be.
Okay.
I don't know. They've only just shown different skin tones and a couple different shirts. That's about it.
Woohoo.
He plays a black guy.
Yeah, racial diversity.
It is Hawaii though, so it'd be really weird if it was just a bunch of pale Japanese
Yeah,
character models in
that's
Hawaii. It's like this weird, like Japanese ideal, like one day we'll take over Hawaii for real. It's like, but they've
God.
avoided
That's
that. The rival is seems to be inspired by Native Hawaiian.
He likes food.
people.
That's gonna be his probably his
America.
trope. His only trope.
America.
And outside of that, they really didn't show that much besides a few adjustments to the battle system, I guess, to make it easier. I guess for the 5 people who don't know how Pokemon works, Nathan, you remember the adjustments they made? Like how they
Oh,
showed
yeah.
super effective?
Yeah, you
Effectiveness
can
moves.
now see which moves are super effective, and you can now see what debuffs or buffs you have now, or what you've done to the enemy. It's like
That's pretty good.
It's I don't know, for the casual Pokemon player, I guess, but
Like I don't really know who they're made for, those adjustments.
I don't know. It seems like they're made for like
It's
the new
convenience,
people.
really.
It's convenient, but it kind of takes away from the fun of Pokemon not knowing, especially when you encounter new Pokemon. It's like, what's going to be working against this Pokemon? Then you have to find out.
I do wonder if you
Yeah.
can turn that off, though. I'm kind of curious if that's gonna be like you have to have that on, or if you-
I don't know. I think it's good because it's kind of a balancing feature for people who are like super hardcore going into IVs, EVs,
Yeah.
knowing every single move, and people who are just playing at more of a casual level because now you don't have to have the entire, Pokemon database basically
Right.
memorized. You can just say, oh, this movie's fairy type, cool, I can use this.
Right. And really, they didn't show much else beyond that. We did learn actually today as we record this episode that there will be some information coming out within a week. So maybe we'll get some more info then. But it was interesting when we watched that, and then we went to Breath of the Wild, which is complete opposite in terms of Pokemon
Amount
being
of information.
Yeah.
Like you get like hours upon hours of Breath of the Wild footage.
Yeah. Do we move into that now, I believe?
Yeah, it was interesting because when Nintendo first revealed Zelda as the only playable title at E3, people were pretty upset. They thought this was like a terrible move. Like, how can you only give one game when every other company has, 10 or 15? And, people were very doubtful of Nintendo. Then they said we're not showing the NX, so people kind of didn't have a lot of faith at E3 this year. But then Nintendo, I think, they showed up with this game, Breath of the Wild, the new title. And I think they kind of flipped the table and they sort of asked the fans and the public, follow us on this journey. And the result is something, in my opinion, that's quite familiar but also totally different. And it's sort of what Eiji Onoma, the producer of Zelda, said, so we're breaking all the conventions this time. And I feel like the game they showed at E3 was something that no one really expected. So let's get into Zelda, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild being released on Wii U and NX coming, I don't know,
March.
2017.
2017.
Maybe.
That has
That-
to
that-
be.
yeah, if they said it would, but I'm a little bit concerned about it just being labeled for 2017. That means it could potentially not be an NX launch title.
I think it needs to be a launch title.
I think it should really be,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of doubtful of it making a March launch window.
Yeah.
I think it's already there. Because,
You think so?
Yeah, because like all the physics seem fairly solid. Like the game seems relatively polished. So as
Yeah.
long as the conversion to the NX version isn't that drastic a process, I think they're fine. Like the Treehouse staff have said that they've played lots of areas outside of the E3 demo area. So I think the game is much more complete than it's looking from the demo.
Yep, the demo, 1% of the overall map.
Yeah, that's insane. I love the scope of it.
Yeah. So before we get into specifics, let's start with some first impressions around the table. So Victor starts off. As
Alright.
someone who only owns a few games of the Wii U,
Yeah.
you sound pretty.
Yeah, I guess I have the least amount of game experience on the Wii U, and as someone who has been playing with Nintendo or even been keeping up with Nintendo that much, I came into this like really skeptical. Like I want to be blown away. My like anticipation level was high. My expectations were high. I wanted to be blown away by Zelda, and I have to say I did meet a lot of them because last year my favorite game of the year was Witcher 3, and this game it seems to be like on that level of epicness because like I was blown away by like a game like Witcher 3, which is like 80-hour long campaigns, huge worlds, and I was like, wow, this is really feeling like a next gen game. This feels larger than life. And when I saw Zelda, I was like, this feels larger than life. This really feels like like just a huge world I want to explore and just immerse myself in.
It directly fixed my greatest issue with Skyward Sword. Was I hated the world in Skyward Sword because it was way too small, it was linear, and this game is giant and it's not linear. I'm like, well, they fixed my major criticism of Skyward Sword, so kudos on them. Nathan?
But my main thing, as soon as the show started, was voice acting. That's one thing that immediately took my attention, because people had said that Zelda should have voice acting for a while now, ever since Skyward Sword, and I was a bit worried about them incorporating voice acting into Zelda, but I still think that having voice acting just helps, this connects more to now the mainstream fans. So now the mainstream fans can say that Zelda has stepped up to the next generation. And even though Link still doesn't have a voice, which I think is a good thing.
I don't think anyone would have been happy if Link had a voice.
Yeah, it's fine with Link not having a voice. It'll take away from all of our childhood memories of Link just being a solid protagonist.
Right, and Jeff, first impressions?
Well, first impressions, it was actually more close to what I was assuming than I guess you thought it would be. Not that there were things that surprised me. I didn't expect no rupees. I didn't expect things like that. But as far as the scope and everything, it was pretty much what I was expecting. My first impressions, it looks phenomenal, but honestly, it was later in the week before my concerns were addressed, because it took a few days for Aonuma to actually say oh no, don't worry, there are towns.
Yeah.
The game first started out, they're oh, we're not saying anything because that's spoilers. So I was concerned, are there no people in this world? Are you serious? You're just gonna have an old man and bunch of robots? I like this desolation. It's neat, but part of why I love Zelda so much are the world building, the characters, and the fact that that was absent and they weren't saying anything freaked me out. And then, it was a couple days later, he was no, don't worry, there's towns, we just didn't want to do story spoilers for this demo. And, that sold me, I guess, completely, because I was worried there for a little bit that it was going to be that open world, kind of just the first Zelda, where there are no characters, except for, the old man and the one, Moblin, who's, don't tell anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, same with Dungeons was another one where he didn't really say, is there going to be dungeons? I don't know. And then he's yes, there will be some larger dungeons later on. Same with, you mentioned towns, Ruby's another one. He's there will be rubies. You won't be cutting grass anymore, but you will be using some sort of financial transaction more from crafting, I guess, items now. So you're right, yeah, he did confirm later on that he started answering a bunch of these questions. So yeah, let's just go through some of these elements. So Nathan, you brought up voice acting. So what does everyone think about voice acting? I mean, I was sort of surprised when I first heard it, because I'm just not used to it. I'm just used to my wall of text, and I was Link couldn't speak. Good. Okay, he's not speaking. I still feel after Metro the Other M, they'll never have voice acting for a main character in Nintendo again. But it was nice to hear, some voice acting. I mean, I guess I'm personally, as someone who plays Nintendo, I'm used to having no voice acting, but it was nice, and hopefully you got some good voice actors. Hopefully you got the best people. Yeah, it definitely brought out, I'm sure you, Victor, play more games that have voice acting, so you're probably much more used to that. But it sounded nice. It fit.
The only character that's voice acting is the sidekick right now, right? Yeah. How many characters are voice acting? Because from what I see in the demo, it's just the little sidekick.
I think
right now it's just the disembodied voice everyone assumes is Zelda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nothing else has been confirmed. That's the only voice that's shown up.
Yeah, because I'm wondering how much voice acting will there be in the game, because
I think
the old man wasn't speaking.
Yeah,
that's true. I think Aonuma at one point said the voice acting is going to be restricted to cutscene type of areas. So when there are important story modes or story scenes, I think you're going to see voice acting. So the first time Link does run into a town, I think you'll see voice acting.
Okay.
When Zelda shows up, there's going to be voice acting. Ganon's probably going to be voice acted
again.
That'd be interesting to hear Ganondorf's voice.
Yeah, it would. But in that case, it's not really a big deal to me, actually, because it kind of seems like a small thing. It doesn't seem like it'd be a big part of the game.
It was my problem. It's just so unusual for Nintendo to have voice acting in their game, especially in Zelda, which is almost kind of taboo.
No, I don't think so. I'm fine with it.
Zelda's really the only one of their major franchises, probably aside from Kirby and Donkey Kong, that's never had
Yeah.
fully like voiced dialogue, except for like Midna and Twilight Princess. If you, I think, sped up or slow down her dialogue, you'd actually get full English sentences somehow. But you know, Zelda hasn't had voice acting like fully sentences, but Kirby hasn't, Donkey Kong hasn't, but Mario has had sentences.
Yeah.
Kid Icarus, Star Fox, Metroid, all the other sort of big ones have at least had some amount. I guess not Pokemon, but
Because
they
I guess
haven't
there
had
was
it.
one other example. The Hyrule Warriors, they had some parts of voice
yeah.
acting. It was highly in, but it was still like kind of voice acted.
So that's definitely like a new thing, and we'll see. Because I always thought after the disaster of Metroid Other M that they'll never put voice acting in, but
Yeah.
I guess enough time has passed.
I don't think the voice acting was what broke that. I think it was the
characterization.
Yeah.
Just the writing is what.
Yeah.
Okay. I also want to bring up. Let's just dive into like the new things, like the armor and weapon durability. I don't know if armor is durability, but weapons certainly have durability. How items are no longer cutting. You don't cut grass on to find items. Now you kind of craft. You have a crafting system now for things like food and different weapon combinations. And there's more freedom, I think, in the environment. I think Skyward Sword had a little bit, but this game now it's like you can use everything in the environment. It's like you can push boulders down hills. You can like climb walls to try to get a sight advantage over enemies. You can really make use of the environment. So let's just really dive into these completely new features, and I'll start with Jeff.
Like one of the things that's, as you kind of implied and mentioned, like there is so much like creativity that you can do. Like I've heard stories about like setting up like piles of rubble in like order, lighting part of it on fire, and like leading the fire to like explosive barrels. Like you can set up like, you know, chains and systems of things like that. So that's, you know, kind of neat. The breakable weapons are kind of interesting. I'm not usually a fan of that kind of thing, but it looks like you're going to be finding new weapons fairly often, so I'm not that worried about it. I like the different clothing options. That's fun. You know, the fact that Link can get cold and you need to either craft or brew potions or wear warmer clothing in order to survive is a neat kind of feature. And if and I'm sure they'll like expand on that for like, you know, hot areas too. You know, you can get burned in like Death Mountain or something.
Yeah, it was nice to see. I mean, that was actually one of the features I liked a lot about Wind Waker. Was I remember picking up enemy weapons. I thought that was a neat thing, and they never did anything with that. They never went anywhere. So I think it's nice to see it back. Like in the 3, one thing they did show was when Link could attack a Stelphos and then pick up its arm and beat it with its own arm, and then you could equip it as a sword later and use
you can,
it.
I think you like throw their heads or something. Like I heard one weird thing with like the heads that you can like ricochet the heads off other things.
And even the enemy AI seemed a lot smarter. Like there was videos showing like if you knocked the Bobblekin's spear away or a sword, it would pick up a rock.
Just throw you with random rocks.
So, and I think that's one thing. And I think one thing they've actually addressed through this is the difficulty level of Zelda, which, you know, I think more or less has been kind of par for the course of not really hard. But now in this new open world environment, they're showing these extremely powerful enemies close by, and it's like you could try to attack them, but you're probably going to lose. So that certainly, I think, adds something new to the game.
Because I remember having stuff like that in Skyrim, where you just go outside the first like major city, and there's just giants wandering around outside the city. Walk up to them and just like shoot you 12,000 feet into the air. That was always fun. But it's always nice to see that we can now in Zelda that we can have this huge open world, and there will be things that we're not prepared for right now. We have to like sneak around things and to try to avoid them, or find new ways into combat through environments and stuff like that. Because you could take a position outside of a Bokoblin encampment, and then you can launch a surprise attack and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the only other game I've sort of played similar is Xenoblade, and I liked, at least watching the initial videos, is one thing I like is that this game it looked like it wasn't really punishing you for like, okay, there's a really powerful enemy. You could try to work your way around it again to like a Templar item, and Xenoblade also did that sometimes where, okay, there's really powerful enemies, you will die in one hit, but you know, if you're smart enough and avoid the AI, you can get in. And I remember there was this one of the videos showed like there was one of those robotic guardians, and like hit a laser attack. It's like, well, you need it to break the wall again in a temple. It's like you can kind of like make it attack you and break the wall, or you can try to climb the wall really softly to get over and get into like one of the shrines.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, it really opens up the world and opens up your playstyle too. Because I think that's another thing we could talk about, that Zelda, it is kind of a very traditional sort of, after especially Ocarina of Time, you kind of go, Zeg, target your enemy, go around, wear it down, and use your one item to kill it especially. And I think now it's a really open playstyle, that's the right word. Like there's like so many options. Like it really leaves it to the players to like look around and see what you can use.
One thing about open world games is, like, I don't want to say any particular names, but there's a lot of games out there where they have these big awesome open worlds and there's nothing doing them, and you get bored because you're like, all I can do is I can jump in my car, I can just walk around this building, oh great, next mission, and then
You mean Mad Max?
yeah. No, I don't want to jump there. I'm not gonna name any names, I said, but Ubisoft. So what cool about this is that, like, it seems like there's so much different approach and like just gameplay variety to the open world. There's so many crazy things. I have this huge list of all these stuff, but even things like combat, like flurry mode, and all these fun little things you can do, or even stuff like being able to use your shield as a snowboard, and like
Yes, Legolas, Lord of the Rings.
yeah, and do that. Like that's super cool, and it's just, oh man, like I'm overwhelmed by how much different gameplay opportunities there are. Like it's just fully embracing that RPG, this kind of RPG element, and yeah, really just. Even like a stealth system too. Apparently, this will be a fully fledged stealth system, so you can hide away and do some sneaks. Do some sneaks, like them sneaks.
Yeah, and I'm sure we haven't seen it, like anything either. Like I'm sure there's so much more, like both to the gameplay and like the mechanics and things like that we haven't seen.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting when they mentioned how. Again, the demo was only 1% of the overall map, and that's like you can put 16 Twilight Princesses together, and that's the size of this map.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
They showed a lot of things, I think, in that demo. Like, they showed a few of the shrines and kind of like mini temples. They showed, like, there was a grass area, an ice area, a fire area. So there's lots of things going on. That's one little tiny area. Although, as Jeff mentioned, there was no towns, no temples, but there was definitely things going on there.
Like, now that, like, one of the things I'm kind of excited about the potential of there being, because Aonuma did mention that there are going to be characters, there are going to be towns. If there are characters, I'm hoping it would be great if there was kind of like a villain character, like a Girahim type of thing that still talks, still had a personality, but because it is an open world, this would be a character that would be strong enough to escape, and if you were fast enough, you could chase them around the world, and like it's this sort of living, breathing character, kind of like how the Guardians are, somewhat like that. They're gonna run around and attack you until you take them down. I'd love for there to be like an immensely powerful villain character who's like that, who's if you can see him run across, do a weird flying jump up to the mountain, and if you want to spend 2 hours walking up the mountain and climbing for him to like jump down, you can, but maybe that's something like you need an item to like butterfly net him or something before you can actually deal with him properly, or learn to sneak better. Like, there are a lot of potentials just with adding towns, like in the economy that will come with the rupees, and adding characters existing, that you can take all these elements, these these elements of gameplay and items, and they'll be even more impactful, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, even the crafting system, I mean, that solves the issue of so many Zelda games, especially the newer ones. You get all this money, and you never can do anything with it. Like,
exactly.
you buy your Giant's Wallet, you get to buy that one really expensive item, and that's it. And then you get all this money, like, this is useless.
They just dump it all in the bank. That's what I did in Majora's Mask. Just dump it all in the bank.
Yep.
Yeah.
But now it's like every item you get, from like a mushroom on the ground to, I guess, honey, or an enemy's weapon, you can potentially do something with it.
Just
You
take
can.
this off of the spit. The goblins are making it.
Yeah.
You can hunt, apparently, which is crazy for a
hunting.
Zelda game, which kind of draws in the Princess Mononoke connections. I've heard a lot of people comparing it to that movie, so with hunting added, it's a potential for interesting stuff.
Makes use of the amiibo, since I gotta say, there is some good amiibo support. Most of the people around the table here have amiibos. They've spent way too much money on them, so it's really nice to see that when they promised that the Twilight Wolf Link would be used in this game. Maybe it'll just be a costume.
Extra dungeon again.
There we go again.
But the fact that Wolf Link, the wolf appears as sort of your partner, because they said there's really no partner in this game. Like, the wolf is sort of like your partner in that it hunts for you, can assist you in battles, and that its health meter is based on your completion of the dungeon
Yeah.
in Twilight
Yeah.
Princess. I don't know. I thought that was a really neat addition. It's like finally someone decided to kind of think out of the box of just costumes and like getting a few extras. Like I'm sure some people will be annoyed that that's such a cool addition that it's not in the game. But I mean, nice to see that finally Nintendo's kind of using amiibos in a more creative way.
Yeah, it's also good for us supporting supporting the Wii U, and it's basically saying if you got Twilight Princess HD, here's your reward for supporting the Zelda series, kind of thing.
And I just want to add, I also did like sort of they didn't show a lot of characters in the world, but they did show like the old Dekus from Wind Waker. The
Oh, yeah, you mentioned this. They're not Dekus. They're Koroks from Wind Waker.
Sorry. But
Dekus are a completely different race. The Koroks are the evolved Kokiri from Ocarina of Time.
I'm glad you're here to correct me. But I mean, it's nice to see like I wonder if they're
The
going to
Dekus are
evolve or-
completely different. They're just plant people.
Yeah.
Majora's Mask, that's all I remember from Dekus.
Okay.
But it does kind of bring up, like, you know, this is probably a completely different discussion, but because the Koroks are there, it does kind of bring the question, like, does that mean it's the Wind Waker timeline? Because that's the only, you know, game that they've appeared in. That's not, like, a certainty, but I'd expect that they're going to stick with Koroks being descendants of the Kokiri, because that's kind of, I think, integral to them.
Yeah.
So that doesn't necessarily mean it's Wind Waker. It could just be another timeline where the Kokiri end up turning into Koroks.
I'm getting a really like either really early or really late kind of time period, because if you look at that Master Sword and how like ruined it is, and like you know, you look at how overgrown kind of, and it's just the environment in general just looks really kind of like almost an apocalypse just happened, or like the world just started.
I feel like it's going to be late.
Yeah.
Just because, like, although like the stylistics of it kind of look a lot like Skyward Sword and being an early thing, I think with having like an ancient Sheikah technology thing that's so, you know, basically sci-fi, and having, you know, the Koroks there and having the rusted Master Sword,
And this is the Guardians as well.
like and like I'm not sure how many years were between Skyward Sword and like the Great War that is always mentioned in the later games that we never see anything of, but you know, it's a possibility that, you know, technology develops from Skyward Sword to, you know, this game. Because, like, you know, Skyward Sword did have the robots.
Yeah.
And the fact that it could still be early because, you know, Sheikah's, or the Sheikah tribe has been extinct in every single Zelda game except for Skyward Sword, where it's just like, I'm Impa, I happen to be a Sheikah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, it actually brings up the Shikai was. I think it was sort of one interesting point was there was a bit of a controversy was when they first revealed Zelda before it was known as Breath of the Wild, people thought it was a female Link, and there was actually a bit of a backlash against like, well, why can't we have a female Link? Is it time now to have, you know, pick your gender? And Noma was saying,
That's terrible.
well, you know, one he said, you know, maybe we'll make a game about Sheik, and there you go, and you know. What would Link do in a game if Zelda's the main character?
That statement was just that was a bad statement.
But sort of, I guess, final thoughts. Is there anything you're worried about? Anything you didn't see outside of? I mean, Jeff mentioned the towns, which they did confirm. Was there anything you didn't like? You're like, I don't know. Nathan?
I mean, I want to see more. I don't know like how expansive the dungeons are going to be in this game, because that's one of the main draws of Zelda, is being able to explore these dungeons and do the puzzles inside of them. And we saw like the shrines and the puzzles within them, but what are we going to have anything like those huge like dungeons that we used to have in previous Zelda games? Because that's where I get most of my excitement from.
I'm worried of how it's going to look on the NX and how it's compared to the Wii U, because like NX is apparently to be much more powerful. The gap from Wii U to NX is probably be bigger than the gap from GameCube to Wii. So how crazy is this going to look? So I don't want to invest all my money in the new Wii U version, and then
They've actually kind of said a statement on that. They basically say that the NX version will basically be the same.
Yeah.
The same experience.
Same
that's
experience.
That's
In
their
quotes, the quotes is-
buzzword.
They
the
also,
same experience.
They also said that you can use a Pro controller for the full game, which gives me hope, because I'm not really like into gimmicks or motion controllers. So it's nice that I can just have my standard controller, play my standard Zelda, and just have a good time.
Yeah. Well, I think they said, yeah, we're not using the gamepad at all. Even Nova, I mean, it's kind of funny because there's such a high up time. He's like, I don't think the gamepad really worked very well, so I don't really want to use it.
No, they're still using the gamepad.
You still can use it.
You can do markers.
Yeah.
You can lay markers on
it's
the
not
map,
like,
which is
It's
fairly...
not a necessity.
It's
not like Star Fox Zero, which upset me because they made it necessary, even though it shouldn't have been.
You should have been on the first episode.
But
yeah. I guess, on your point, I had a similar thing, which less about the game, more of, I'm interested to see if, I hope they both come out at the same time, both versions, because it would be a major incentive to buy the NX, I think, and I don't really want it to come out 6 months after the Wii U one. I feel like it's almost going to be like the Smash Bros. Situation, where the Wii U version came out a few months after the 3DS one, that probably hurt its sales, so, and they really need every game they can get right now. So.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
They need it.
I have two major concerns. The first one is I love Skyward Sword. A lot of people don't, but I thought it was a very fun experience. But it didn't have any towns filled with people. Like, it had the main town, but the reason why I really like parts of Ocarina of Time, some of the Game Boy ones, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, etc. There are Goron Village, Zora Village, Subrosia Village. You can go and there's weird, crazy fish people. Cool.
Yeah.
And Skyward Sword didn't really have that. It had stupid gophers on the ground that weren't in a town, and that's it.
The Kiwis?
No, they were okay, but the weird gopher guys,
yeah.
and it didn't really I guess they had the whatever cute.
It was a pretty
things.
empty world.
Yeah. But my major, my main concern, and I understand why they're doing it, but I'm still upset about it, is that no music. It's so weird, because usually, Zelda, you think, you're going in, and that's, playing in the background, you're excited, you go into a forest, and it's cool. They've said, no music in this game, there's kind of piano sometimes, but no songs. And I understand why they're doing it. They want the immersion. They want the cool outside feeling. But I want songs. There's a touring Zelda concert that has been 4 years running. That's thousands of people go to, and they decided, nah, no music this time. It's fine. Yeah. I hope there's an instrument or something so they can at least do that. There's no music generally, but at least you come to a temple or something, play the harpsichord of Desolation or whatever they call this one, and then at least throw in some fully musically realized songs partly.
Usually the title gives off the main tool that they're going to use, so Breath of the Wild, I don't know.
Whistling.
Maybe he was
singing. They have voice acting now. Maybe
he's straight up just laying down the vocal cords.
Link can't talk, but he can sing.
He can sing. That would be hilarious.
I mean, I figure the temples have to have a musical theme.
I don't think so. I think it's going to go more atmospheric.
The only parts I noticed with music were when you and a guardian finds you. That's about the only time I've actually really noticed the music.
Yeah, I'm fine with no overworld theme. But I hope that if there is characters that they throw in character themes at least a little bit.
So when you encounter someone who plays a certain theme,
just it doesn't even have to be as flamboyant or blatant as other games, but just something that they can throw into the orchestra concerts.
Yeah. And music is an integral part to Zelda.
It's such an important part of the games, and since the first one, that it seems so weird that they'd say not this time. So that's what I'm still worried about. That's when I'm still, please have something, Zelda.
Yeah, well, hopefully that'll be addressed in the upcoming announcements about Breath of the Wild.
The NX version.
The NX version will have music.
That'd be amazing. Music in the NX version only.
Package of 2 amiibo.
Special edition art book.
You're saying no, but
I'll play music through the gamepad exclusively. Oh, great!
That actually wasn't that bad, though. I mean,
that's the NX's gimmick. You open it up and it's like a miniature orchestra, miniature full-piece band. If you want music, play it yourself.
Just sheet music. It's just sheet music with the game.
Miyamoto with Wii music.
You have to hire a piano player.
It's like I like the fake box art for Mario Maker that's just you think you're so great, you make it then.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I mean, speaking of games being made, I mean, there was quite a few games announced at E3 besides Zelda and besides Pokemon. I mean, There's a good 6 or 7, and a few were complete surprises. A few we sort of knew were coming, but we actually got a pretty good, I think, variety. Mostly 3DS, of course, because they pretty much gave up on the Wii U. We only have one title coming out in the fall. So there were a few games, and we're just going to go over a few of them now, sort of rapid fire. One, I guess, was the only sort of new title or new IP was Ever Oasis. Excuse me. It's made by Grezzo. I'm gonna not even pronounce the guy's name, but it's made by
Koichi Ishii.
Thank
There
you.
go.
One of the old Final Fantasy people.
Final Fantasy and Secret of Mana series.
So a guy with some good RPG chops.
Yeah.
And to give a quick description of this game, it has an Egyptian aesthetic. It sort of looks like a cross between, in my opinion, Golden Sun with some Animal Crossing type features. So you're sort of this kid, and you're in this. You have to create this oasis, and you pretty much have to go out and try to expand your oasis by going to dungeons, finding people to add to your town, and building up the market. And the dungeon activity is very, again, Golden Sun feel like you have abilities, and you kind of use those abilities in the overworld to get treasures and fight bosses. And so Jeff, what do you think of Ever Oasis? Something you're interested in?
Not really.
That's a good summary.
I like the original Golden Sun. It just didn't seem to hook me. Its art style, like I generally like cute things, but it kind of reminds me of like the weird, like for a brief time they had like a Nintendo exclusive Sims series that had a weird art style, or kind of like what was it, like Little King's Story or something. Like it's this very, like, I can't see myself getting invested in the characters because they kind of seem like Duplo people just with slightly anime faces. Like, I do like Egyptian mythology, but yeah, it's not the kind of game that interests me.
Nathan, as a new IP?
Well, for the new IP, it's nice to see that Nintendo is expanding and going out to other studios and getting them to make exclusives for them.
They get the leftovers from people who leave it.
Oh, that's a nice thing to say. But they got Bayonetta too. There you
Just
go.
like the great last new IP that everyone loves, SteamWorld or whatever, Project Steam, Codename Steam. SteamWorld 8, Codename what? Project whatever.
That's how forgettable the game was.
The cool looking Abraham Lincoln Wizard of Oz thing that no one liked.
The comic book steampunk style. Anyway, but with Ever Oasis, I love town building RPGs. So whenever you have to build your own town, I kind of like doing stuff like that in RPGs. I think it's a great idea. Even if it's just as simple as stuff like in Fable, where you could just by investing money into the town becomes prosperous, and then you can reap the rewards, or like get cheaper weapons or stuff like that. So for me, Ever Oasis looks like just like a nice town building RPG that I could have on my 3DS and take with me. So it's got me pretty excited. And the dungeon crawling, I'll admit, is not like, it doesn't like hook me as much as Jeff said. It just doesn't look like it's not really my style when it comes to dungeon crawling. Dungeon crawling for me is it's kind of hit or miss. So it just doesn't work for me.
So is it randomly generated dungeons, or is it?
No, I don't think. What you mean? Are you talking about the Ever Oasis?
Yeah.
Ever Oasis, I think they're specific.
Okay,
I think it's specific dungeons. It's not randomly generated. Randomly generated stuff's a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so there's that. And that was really the only new, sort of, I guess, brand new IP.
Yeah.
In terms of other new games, I'm just going to go by that. I mean, we got a new Mario Party surprise. The second one for the 3DS, Star Rush, out of nowhere, coming out November 5th. And they didn't really show much beyond a new mode where now no longer do you have to wait wait your turn to roll the dice. Now everyone rolls the dice at once and move around this kind of a board, but you're not in the car anymore, so everyone's happy about that. But
that's great. I love that.
And you don't have to worry about picking a character or anything dumb like that. Here's Toad. You're Toad. Shut up.
Here's 4 Toads. Have fun. Have fun with Toads. Yeah.
If you're lucky, you can collect a Mario.
well, I guess going by this rate, maybe in our 10 games they'll go back to the old style of the old board maps that everybody wants, because everybody loved these changes.
At least we got Amiibo out of them.
Yeah,
I still love that.
We got Waluigi Amiibo. Like,
we got Daisy Amiibo. Be quiet. That's the only thing that matters.
No, Waluigi Amiibo. The internet went nuts when Waluigi Amiibo got announced.
All I gotta say is that the cover of
The
cover of the Mario Party Star Rush is on the back of their SpaghettiOs.
Yeah.
So if you go just Google Cambo SpaghettiOs Meatballs of Nintendo, and you'll see the cover for their next Mario Party.
Yep.
Getting some weird ideas there, Nintendo.
That's a good summary of the Mario Party
Yeah.
series.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Even Nintendo's gotten so lazy, even they can't be bothered to like make art assets for the game.
Yep, that explains the new. Oh, that's sad.
But yeah, we did get some new amiibo on that point. We got Daisy and Waluigi. We got a glow-in-the-dark Boo. And we got new forms of DK and Diddy. Rod and Lena, which it looks kind of exactly the same to me. Like, okay, it doesn't
Just
have
no
Luma.
Luma.
No
Yeah.
Luma. And
arms are different.
Wario in traditional
Different
colors. Very happy about
Yeah,
that.
that's the
Yeah,
first
it's
classic
regular.
Wario.
Yeah.
Hate that.
I am glad for Waluigi, if only because there's kind of famously like at WWE events, one random fan who goes in with a sign that says Waluigi Amiibo, like it has nothing to do with
What?
wrestling. He just goes to WWE
That's
events with a
funny.
giant sign that says Waluigi Amiibo, so he can finally put away the sign.
That's so weird.
That's good.
That's why the internet went crazy. It was great.
Yeah, it's
so bizarre.
Oh, Lord Savior Waluigi.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they didn't go crazy for Color Splash. Well, they went crazy in a completely different way. Cause
I wouldn't say crazy, just kind of like
its trailer
Aw.
got it was Metroid Federation Force. I think has the highest amount of negative, like positive, negative likes on dislikes on YouTube. I think Color Splash is like number 2 in terms of like the like dislike ratio. Like people
This
were.
is Nintendo games. If we want to talk about games, I think Call of Duty Infinite Warfare beats it.
yeah, I think that one's famously.
But I don't think anyone. I mean, it's Color Splash. It's the only. It's probably gonna be like the last, I guess, big Wii U title outside of
Zelda.
Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
and it's coming out October 7th. Premise is Prism Island lost all its color. Mario's gotta get it back. That's pretty much it. And what can we say? It uses the card system from Sticker Star again because
Yeah.
everybody really liked that.
We all love that. The Sticker Star was so great. You had to peel your weapons off the walls. It was
Yep.
great.
Oh no.
You can't upgrade your weapons unless you get better stickers.
Don't forget using specific stickers against bosses because if you have 3 items that blow enemies away, only the one fan works. The other fan doesn't.
I'm not sure if you've heard like Nintendo's excuse for why Paper Mario's gotten bad. They've said, "Oh, our RPGs is the Mario and Luigi games. Paper Mario is where we try new things."
Yeah, I heard that, and I was like, that's BS.
It's because Mario Luigi Paper Jam happened.
Mario Luigi also been moving really away from being kind of a straight RPG since like Superstar Saga. Like it's the 5th game now, and it's still an RPG, but it's kind of its own thing. I wouldn't say it's a traditional RPG really much
No.
anymore.
Well, but Paper Mario wasn't a traditional RPG, really.
Mario was never really too traditional.
But it was like definitely the first 2, Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door, were pretty much standard like RPGs, and then Super Paper Mario just
The
took
last
away.
couple Mario and Luigi's have kind of deviated a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I haven't played the last 2, but it's the Paper Jam, and then the one
Bowser's
before it
Inside
was.
Story.
Was that one the last one? No, it was Dream Team, wasn't it?
Sorry, yeah, Dream Team.
Yeah. And
was a strange
yeah.
But then Color Splash. I mean, as far as I know, no one likes Sticker Star.
Nope.
But it sold well, so I guess they think let's do that again on the Wii U. And I don't think anyone's really happy about that.
Nope.
I think the only good comment that came out of that whole thing was maybe we'll do 1,000 Year Dirt, a remake of or a.
I hope
or a-
so. Even just Virtual Console, because like I never played it, and by the time I had time to play it,
Mhm.
it was hard to find, and I kind of want it on a digital platform that's easy to load in, load up, whatever.
So yeah, I guess we could just be happy about maybe 1,000 Year Door coming back, and I hate to say it, but I almost hope Color Splash bombs, because if it does, maybe they'll think maybe we should go back to what people
It seems
like.
creatively bankrupt. Like the original 2 were fun because you went to all these like worlds filled with life and characters, and all of the recent ones have seemed like here's an empty world and Toads.
Yeah.
Go have some fun interacting with this world that needs blank and toads.
Yeah.
Versus the original 2 games, like, here's a Goomba village. You know those things you step on all the time? Here's a little girl one that loves adventuring and has a heart and a life.
Yeah.
Do you want to kill her? Didn't think so. Go kill her friends. Like, it's so weird in that way. Like, and, you know, Thousand Year Door, I haven't played it, but it had, like, one of the only, like, super positive transgender characters in pretty much all of gaming. It was edited out of the English version.
Oh, okay.
The ghost girl.
Vivian?
Yes.
Vivian was transgender?
Yes, she was.
I learned something.
So, you know, sorry, Birdo is not a... If Birdo is transgender, that's not positive. That's a weird, gross monster thing.
Yeah. That Birdo's gender identity's always been kind of...
Let's not get into that, but, like, you know, there were interesting characters, interesting settings, interesting scenarios.
And it wasn't Mario. It was like...
It still used the Mario mythos. It still used Goombas and Koopas and ghosts and, like, things that still fit into Mario, but it wasn't...
It wasn't stuck to the traditional...
It was like Mario RPG, the original one, where you had, like, this definitely Mario, here's a Yoshi, don't worry, it's Mario. But here's weird, cool characters like an RPGs had.
On it.
I think the worst thing about Sticker Star to me was... Because Paper Mario, even Super Paper Mario, which is the first one that moved away from being RPG, that one still had kind of really interesting worlds. It was very creative. Yeah. And Sticker Star, it was standard Mario. It was like grass, desert, ice, and and plus it was turned into this weird sort of platformer, basically 1-1-1-2, like a traditional Mario game.
Toads.
It was just toads, and it was so boring and bland. And then, just came out on 3DS.
Nintendo made up an excuse for that, too. Like, I'm getting tired of Nintendo's excuses, apparently. But Nintendo's excuse for the Toads were like, oh, but they have different personalities if you talk to them. It's like, yeah, so?
And then, in Thousand Year Door, you got 8 partners who are 8 different races, and they all have different personalities, and you get...
Races is a bit weird with Mario, but enemy-type species, I guess race works, Mario, but it's weird to different races.
But, I mean, it's funny. And then, as you said, Mario Luigi Paper Jam came out. And they did it again! Because you think, Mario and Luigi Paper Mario, that could be really creative. Like,
more Toads!
Exactly. Like, I was like, are they going to go Paper Mario's world? That could be neat.
Even past the first Mario and Luigi, because in the first Mario and Luigi, they go to the Bean Kingdom, and it's like, here's a bunch of weird new Bean characters, and Mario characters, but bean skins over them for some reason.
Yeah.
It was interesting, but then and even like the next couple of them where they were still interesting was like, let's go back in time.
Yeah.
Let's have the baby Marios. We'll bring back Yoshi's Island characters. Like, that's cool, but then they started to get lazy with that a little bit too.
Yeah, and Bowser's Inside Story and Bowser's main character, that was a very neat idea. I mean, that was kind of the selling point of that whole game. And
that was a great game.
Dream Team, which was weird, but the dream sequence at least was weird enough with Luigi that they did something there.
Still some creativity.
Yeah.
But I felt like Paper Jam was a bankrupt game. Like, they took 2 series which are very creative, and they didn't take any ideas. It's like, Toads, as Jeff said. Let's go
the
find
least creative and the least positively received elements of both games and made a game combining those.
And I remember listening to the interview with Card Splash, like, we put the,
Well, it's kind of like...
It's called... We put the Bowser's Children in this game. Like, we're so excited because the first time they've appeared in Paper Mario. Like, that's not something to be excited for. They've now been overused.
They were in a Mario and Luigi game and people were freaking out because, the Koopa Kids are back. And then since that point, it was like, okay, enough with the Koopa Kids.
Like, they've been in every game since. Like, that's nothing to be excited for. And then, like, I'm not excited about, like, painting everything to get coins and get more paint. Like, I wish they showed more of the world, because maybe at least if it's not strictly a Mario world, but I'm not happy at all. So, hope it does bad, so maybe they'll just reboot the whole thing and go back to what people liked about it. We also got, not surprisingly, Box Boy. It got released.
Second one, I think.
Box Boy.
Twice as much boxes.
Twice as much boxes. It got released in Japan in January, and now it's coming here 6 months later. I gotta say, I picked up the first one in November during the Black Friday sale, just randomly. And it was a really fun platform. It's made by HAL. I thought it was really well designed. It was really simple, just a little cube, and you make boxes. But it was just really well designed. It was really fun, and in some ways more fun than the game we'll talk about later, also made by HAL.
A sleeper hit, Box Boy, because it kind of just came out of nowhere, and everyone's like, whoa, what's this fun game?
Yeah.
It's well made.
I remember when it came out, I was actually in Japan when it came out last year. And yeah, my friend just picks up on a whim because we were watching the Nintendo Direct in Japan, and they just said Box Boy's out now, and he's just like, okay, cool, I'll just pick it up for like just on a whim. And he was playing that thing for like on the train rides where we would hang out. He would just play it on the train whenever we would go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it was really creative, and it kind of shows that Nintendo still, as a company, can like take a really small concept and kind of make something glorious out of it. I don't think, a lot of companies kind of have that magic. Nintendo does, I think, still have that magic of taking the simplest little thing and like, a box. We can make a game out of that.
Yeah.
So good on them, and I'm super happy that came out.
Yeah.
A few more releases that Nathan wants to discuss. We got Dragon Quest VII, and we got Monster Hunter Generations. So take it away, Nathan.
Alright, so Dragon Quest VII. Dragon Quest VII, Nintendo's been taking over publishing rights of Dragon Quest ever since, I think, even since the NES days. They've remade 4, 5, and 6 on the DS. The Dragon Quest series is, and here it's really niche, but in Japan it's the second largest RPG franchise. It's basically what I like about Dragon Quest is its characters have a lot of quirks and really interesting personalities that you don't find in many other RPGs like it. So remaking Dragon Quest VII is particularly exciting for me because it's never been on Nintendo console. It was originally released on the PlayStation back in, I think they said 2000, so it's 16 years ago. And what I want to they've added a couple of new features. One of the features is to be able to, just in case you decide to put it down for like a couple months, and with RPGs, like once you start an RPG after like 3 months, you're like, what am I doing again? Where am I supposed to go? They actually added a little feature in where they'll tell you like, okay, you did this part of the story, or this happens, like, and then now you have to do this part. So it helps with picking it up later on. And for Monster Hunter Generations, Monster Hunter series has been growing in popularity ever since 3, I believe. And this is now Monster Hunter, technically 5, but they call it Generations. So what I like about Monster Hunter Generations is that now we have monsters that will learn your personalities as you.
Cool.
Yeah, so they'll develop new techniques to fight you and as you fight them, they'll change their how they fight. So that's great because with Monster Hunter, it's really like monster has 4 patterns. You learn all 4 patterns and get hits in between while the monster's attacking. But so now they'll
Sounds like Zelda.
But now they'll mix up the way the monsters act, and they've added like a couple of new features from 4. Like before in 4, if someone mounts a monster, like jumps on it, everybody has to stop attacking it because if you knock it down, then you knock the person off too. But now you can attack while mounting. You can play as felines, I believe, for the first time in the series. Felines are the little support characters that is in every single Monster Hunter game. So now you can play as them and play support roles, which is a lot better because in Monster there's not a lot of support roles that you can really play. So felines is nice to have just a dedicated support role. And one of the best things about it now is different styles for each weapon, because each weapon has its own distinct way of playing it in Monster Hunter. So if you're using a hammer, like the hammer's gonna be really slow, you're gonna have to pick your attacks carefully, or if you have a sword and shield, you're really fast, you can get right in there and then dodge out of the way. But now in this game you can you can change different styles. So if you prefer to like be more mobile, you could pick like the aerial style. If you want to mount things, you pick the aerial style, or you could just pick the base style, which is the same way you've played the weapon before. So it gives a lot of different options now for how you play it. And if you guys want to ever try it out, we got the demo coming out, I believe, next Thursday. So I'll give that a shot.
I tried to demo the last one and I didn't like it. So
don't worry. Monster Hunter is a very hard series to get into unless someone teaches you.
yeah, well, I'm not particularly excited about having someone teach me how to play a game. I like my Nintendo.
Unless you're a vanilla player like I was back on the PS2 when it first came out.
And we also got the Yokai Watch 2 coming out in October. First one didn't sell very well though, so I'm kind of wondering how this series is going to survive in North America despite being this mega hit in Japan.
Oh, it's huge in Japan. When I was there, Yokai Watch had already been out for a while. But there were lineups to reserve the second one.
Lineups to get a pre-order.
Lineups for pre-order.
Wow.
And those kind of stretched on for a while. The watch, like the actual toy watch, was sold out everywhere. It's huge. All the kids know the dance. They love the dance. Oh, they love the dance. I had the dance performed to me a couple of times by elementary school children. It was adorable, but it's creepy how they all just know the dance. They didn't practice. They just know the dance. I just this morning saw the trailer for Yokai Watch 3. That seems like the game I want. It kind of feels like, if you know Mega Man, it's like you just finished like Mega Man 5. And you say, would you like Mega Man 6? Would you like Mega Man X? It's like, X, that one! The one with new things! And they're like, no, don't worry, we're giving Mega Man 6. And that's kind of the impression I'm getting from Yokai Watch 2. It's like, it's unfortunate, but I think it would be a stronger business decision to skip 2 and go to the one that takes place in the USA.
Yeah, that sounds
like a good idea.
It takes place, it's amazing.
America.
So it takes place in the USA. There's a Japanese section, but, the main character goes to the US, his friend is in Japan. So the big thing, they talk, USA, all the promotional material, USA, there's stars and stripes, it's in the desert. The game starts with Mulder and Scully driving on the road,
What?
referencing the name of the Level 5, the company that makes the game, and talking about, the Y file, and it's all these yokai
Oh my god,
things.
it's amazing!
And then, so it's Super America. There are American yokai, which, it's bizarre. Yeah, so there's American Japanese folklore spirits, which is that's great. But then they name the game Yokai Watch Sushi version and Tempura version. So Super America by the Sushi Tempura version. It's genius, and it's so interesting. Versus Yokai Watch 2, it's Yokai Watch 2. It's like the first one, but more. And it's I understand that you gotta go in order, I guess, but no, just give us the good one. Or the interesting one.
Well, hopefully it does. Yeah, the third one definitely sounds a lot more interesting when you...
Yeah.
You describe it like
And
that.
I've seen the trailer for Yokai Watch 2. I can't tell you anything about it. There's probably a new cat thing.
I think there is a new cat thing.
Yeah, so? We had 3 cat things in the first one. They were dumb. I want whatever the American Eagle hot dog one's gonna be.
Well, hopefully this one sells well enough.
Yeah, I doubt it.
They'll bring us 3.
They'd be better off getting the weird semi-Ghostbusters spin-off.
Yeah, I mean, but speaking of new games, we also got Rhythm Heaven released suddenly at E3.
That was great. That was a surprise. I'm disappointed it was a digital release because that means I had to go out buy a 16 gigabyte card just so I could play the game.
How big is the game?
It's not huge. It's about the size of Kirby Triple Deluxe, but I think most of that is because it includes the full Japanese soundtrack as well as the English soundtrack. But I have a Pokemon game on my 3DS, and that takes up most of the 4 gig memory card. I think it's 2.5. So, I had to buy a bigger one just to get it. But it was definitely, I haven't completely beat it. Very good. It's kind of a compilation of all the other Rhythm Heaven games. You get ones from the Game Boy Advance, the Wii version, the DS, all combined into one with some new games, slightly remixed songs for some of them. It's a very complete package. Little expensive.
$29.99, right?
What?
$29.
Nope, it's the full. It's a full.
$39.99.
I think even more. I think it's a $45 game.
Geez.
Really?
So it's the full modern 3DS game price. There's definitely enough content there to justify it, but it's a obscure rhythm game that mostly you're pressing a button to do the songs. So I can understand why it seems weird to people that it's a full price game. You're getting a lot of content. And it's not a perfect game, but it's great. I'm glad it came out. Little expensive.
Seems to be the kind of replacement for WarioWare, because we have
It's
a lack
the
of
same
WarioWare.
company, yeah.
Same style.
I love WarioWare.
WarioWare is
So
fantastic.
it seems like the closest thing to it.
I'm pretty sure NX is going to launch with a WarioWare.
It has to.
It's been too long since we've had a WarioWare. There's been a weird one for Wii U.
That's
The Game of Wario was
But
what?
I think it's been too long since a hardcore mainline WarioWare entry that I feel like that's a strong title for NX to launch with.
Cool.
I also really like Wario Land 5. Just
Wario Land.
It's a completely different Wario.
yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll see that coming up. But speaking of games that are not worth the money, let's talk about Kirby.
Dang it, Mike.
You harp on Kirby already.
That was fast. Way to not show your bias right off the bat.
Of course.
Aside from the fact that you already said, Box Boy is Boxer than Box Kirby.
It definitely was box. There's too many boxes. But yeah, today we're going to talk about Kirby Planet Robobot. I keep butchering that, Robobot. It's the second Kirby game on the 3DS after Triple Deluxe. It was just released in June. The story, in short, is Kirby tries to stop a company from taking all Planet Popstar's natural resources by using a variety of Kirby's powers, by sucking in enemies, gain their powers, and a mech suit, which is kind of the main reason I bought this game. It also uses amiibos, it has a few side games, and yeah, it's a Kirby game, and it was short. So, let's talk about
Just add those little comments in, you know? Just read off the script and it was short.
I am not reading a script. There's no script.
This is all, this is all improv. This
It is.
Off the cuff.
We did no prep for this.
Yeah.
Alright, so, story and character, Nathan.
Alright, I mean, there's not much to really say about the story. The story is basically what you just described. The Kirby games have never... Well, not that they've never had a big story, but a lot of Kirby games are basically just bad guys take over Popstar, and you have to stop them.
Stop that guy.
It's kind of like... I wrote down he has kind of like a typical Mario-like story, so basically just Kirby stops bad guys. The end.
Where's the princess, though?
Most of the Kirby games have had slightly different story. Like they're linear. Like I'm not saying they're complex, but Dreamland 1, DDD's a jerk. Dreamland 2, there's an eldritch abomination that exists. We should deal with that. Dreamland 3, it's back. Kirby's Adventure, nightmares exist and are manifest in reality. Superstar had a bunch of stories, but the main one that had plot was a jester makes a deal with an alarm clock to want ultimate power and turns into a vampire.
Wow.
Meta Knight, the Meta Knight game was like this weird, like, not political drama, but Meta Knight's like, Dreamland is too weak. They are feeble. So he tries to use his super battleship to take over the place. Crystal Shards, that Eldritch Abomination from the third one is back again and taking over fairies. Fairies exist, by the way. So every Kirby game, it's had different stories. It's just, they're not complex stories.
Yeah. Well, more than Mario, at least.
Yeah, definitely
No,
more than Mario.
Yeah.
But, I'll say, for the record, that I've only played 2 Kirby games, this being my second after Amazing Mirror, which I only got because it was free on the 3DS when I paid too much for it. And I want to say that the gameplay was really fun. I was pleasantly surprised how fun the gameplay was, even though it was ridiculously easy. And, I bought the game because I thought, oh, look, another Kirby game. It's Kirby. He's traveling, walking around. Oh, he's got a mech suit. It's the mech suit. Oh, my God. And then... Man, that mech suit was really fun. Like, they really used it in a lot of different ways.
It felt really good.
You're surprised by that? I thought the mech was a great idea. I was like, I'm ready to go.
I did not think it was going to be implemented that well, and I didn't think it was going to feel as smooth as it did. I like the fact that it gets rid of your infinite flight. Like, that's kind of an interesting feature of it. All of the powers were integrated into the mech suit fairly well.
Stereo.
It controls a lot nicer than a lot of other games that incorporate mech suits. Like, I think it controls better than Mega Man X's suits. It feels nice.
Mm-hmm. And it was used well in puzzles, I think.
Yeah,
the mech suit is
puzzles around
pretty much invincible, so you can never really hide the mech suit.
Unless you fall down.
Yeah.
And in the wheel section, you can sometimes...
The wheel section is really
you hit the race wall, car, you can...
You hit the wall and die.
You can get crushed in this game a lot. Like, that's where most of my deaths happened, was being crushed by the environment.
Mm-hmm. Mm. But then I always liked in the levels where you would go through and it's like, oh, all these things can kill you, and then you go back to the mech and just destroy everything in one hit.
One crazy thing is that with the arrow ability, I believe, there's a move called Hitman. It's just like kind of just weird that this game just has a Hitman move. I don't know. I saw the Giant Bomb stream and they pointed that out. That was pretty funny.
He just hides in the bush.
You can hide in the bush and just assassinate people.
Yeah.
But specifically, it's called Hitman, like as in you can assassinate someone.
Yeah.
I know you said off Mike, that you were surprised at the the button combinations for some of the powers.
Oh yeah, like I thought Kirby was like, press B to do one thing and maybe have an air move, but there's like pages and pages of different moves. Like stuff. It's actually like quite complicated. Go through each each power, even
certain
Circus.
items
Yeah.
like Circus is a big one. The
Ninja.
one of the new one, Ninja's a huge one. One of the new ones, Medicine, is kind of a fairly
Yeah.
detailed one. Poison's kind of
I
complex.
like Poison.
Yeah, Poison's nice. That's how he beat the final boss, actually.
Oh yeah.
Poison. Because the way he does his dash is invincibility. So just use that, just charge away the boss, just for side B.
Oh yeah, but you have the if you hold L, you're invincible. I never used that because that would just make it even
You're not
easier.
invincible forever.
No, you're invincible forever.
Well, some bosses can crack it.
Okay, a few bosses, but most levels, it's like you're invincible. But the towers are really fun. Like I would say, there's such a variety of them, and the way they're used, and some puzzles is great. And I was just getting surprised at the amount of moves you can do.
Earthbound Kirby was fun.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Sonic Kirby, yeah.
But I mean, I'll just talk a bit about the difficulty for a second, just because it did bug me that I always thought, because Kirby's platformer, I thought like and say Smash Brothers, like that was my really first way of playing Kirby. It's like I thought he had like 5 or 6 jumps. I did not know he had infinite jump. Is that how he had in previous Kirby games?
Every game except for 64.
And
Okay.
I think in the original,
In
Dreamland
the original,
1.
you can go forever.
Really? I thought you couldn't go forever in
Nope.
the original. Oh, okay.
As long as you want. The only one that hasn't has been Dreamland, or 64.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I gotta say, infinite jump kind of made it ridiculously easy. Like it's not even really a platformer to me
But then
anymore.
it's boring, because then you're ignoring the entire game. You're just going up to the sky and then landing.
That's true.
So if you want to do that, you can,
Mhm.
but, it's not forcing you.
Yeah, it's not like I ever needed to do that, but I just,
Why
know,
is it there? You know,
And you're not experiencing the game if you're doing
just
that.
bad game design in that case.
I wouldn't say it's bad game design. I think the original, like, when Sakurai made the first Kirby, his reasoning for doing that was that if, like, a 4-year-old picks up the game, they can have the potential to beat it. It doesn't mean they'll definitely beat it, because infinite flying doesn't do anything for boss fights, so it's not like you can just, use it.
Yeah, you can't beat a boss by just
Yeah,
flying
yeah.
around.
So the idea is you can get, like, a super young kid to, like, play a game, learn how to do it, things like that.
so the classic Nintendo philosophy of making
Yeah,
things
it's a lot older than people attribute.
I think kids are pretty smart these
ideology to.
days, though. They can play some pretty mean video games at a young age.
Yeah, I just personally didn't like that the difficulty. I mean, and that was not even counting the amount of items you get, the enemies. I mean, enemies did revive, but you can get like healing items pretty much constantly. And you go in the robot, so you get full health, and the mech. I mean, I don't.
Mechs are like almost invincible. I think I died maybe once in the mech.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a few elements, did anyone find there's any elements the game lacking? I will say one thing I missed was I wish there was more boss fights with the mech suit, like a bit more challenging. There was that one.
Yeah.
There's one part at near the end of the game where you face a whole bunch of bosses with the mech suit.
Yeah.
And it was fun just wrecking everybody with the.
Oh, yeah,
with the
because
mech
they
suit.
just came up and it was like having normal enemies in
Yeah.
front of you, which
Yeah,
was
you
kind of
just, like,
fun.
They're all sub bosses, but you just shoot your weapon and you just kill them. So
That's
it's
funny.
It's just fun.
Having
just to wreck
mech-based
things.
bosses would have been better, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd been cool if you fight a boss and then he jumps in the mech. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
What you do?
Oh.
So some of the enemies start off in a mech suit. You have to fight them you have to fight an enemy in a mech suit. Then you get the mech suit after.
Yeah, it would have been fun to have mech versus mech.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, but I mean, also like the level design, I thought was really creative.
Level design was great. I love it.
Like really, every level almost kind of switched it up. It wasn't like
A lot of variety, which
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
very nice.
even like the kind of like the vehicle levels. A lot of games like those are boring. I was like, okay, I don't want this, but they were actually quite fun. Like the car one,
The
and
car ones are all built around the wheel mech.
Yeah.
It was
going
great.
back and forth between and the 3D actually looked really good. I was
Yeah,
shocked.
I told you, like,
Yeah.
turn on the 3D. It's
It makes a
surprisingly
difference.
You were
good.
right, because I almost never turn 3D on any 3DS game because it never does anything. But it's like the second game now I can say 3D actually looked well.
Yeah, it was really nice to have that.
So yeah, presentation I think it looked great. I mean, again, I haven't played a lot of Kirby games, but I thought visually the levels looked they were vibrant. And instead of 3D, just kind of everything popped out more.
There was no huge use for them, but I liked the collectibles. You could put them on your mech if you wanted.
I wish you could have more than two.
Like in the last game, there were keychains, which were
Okay.
very, like, similar design. There's mostly sprites from older games, but it was just a collectible thing. Like, I still love collecting them just because I love Kirby, so I was like, oh, it's this sprite from the first game.
Yeah.
This one, you kind of had that, but as stickers, they weren't as cool. Like the keychains were fun because they had, like, little star things. Like they looked like they made real keychain models and digitized them, put them in the game.
Well, that's neat.
And they actually did release a limited series of metal ones.
Which you got them all.
Yeah, in Japan. I got them all times almost 2. But this time you can add the stickers to your mech suit, so if you want Meta Knight's face on the side of your mech when you're going through the game, you can do that, which, adds nothing really, but it's a neat touch.
Yeah.
So another thing I'm going to bring up, one part of my favorite parts of this Kirby game were the 2D flying stages.
They were good.
Where you get the jet mech suit, and you just go through a horizontal shooter. That part was a lot
I think
of fun.
my favorite part of that is that I forget what exactly the circumstances of the boss was, but you're fighting the boss, and this means nothing if you're not like a Kirby fan from the very beginning. But you're fighting this boss, and all of a sudden like its armor clips off or something, and all of a sudden it's like an upgraded version of the blimp from the very first Kirby game, and they're playing a remix of the like, which is like this, eating invincibility food type of thing. And it's this blimp with an eye, and it's a supercharged version of that, and for the first you're fighting it like on its terms also as like a flying blimp thing. So that was super satisfying for me.
Did anyone get a chance to play like the side modes? I mean, I just dabbled with them.
But they were.
I didn't think anything of them.
They were little neat side things you could do.
The first time Kirby has, I think, his inhalability in 3D, which was interesting.
Yeah, so you can play with 3D plane, and the controls are a little different. So, and basically just the kind of like how high combo can you get, basically by inhaling enemies and then spitting them out and hitting other enemies, and they get the combo that way without getting hit.
It was pretty limited. It was only like 3 stages, so it wasn't like. But I'm guessing
they increase in difficulty.
Yeah.
And then you got the RPG battle mode thing.
Yeah. I tried that out. It was okay. I mean, I beat it.
I like the slightly altered controls. It's kind of a neat thing.
I wish they gave you unlock something in the main game, but
Yeah, so they're just little side parts.
Yeah,
They had them in like Triple Deluxe. Actually, almost a lot of Kirby games have a lot of those side games.
I thought the soundtrack was pretty good too. I mean, I thought it sounded pretty good. I mean, I'm not a...
It was a very healthy combination, and Kirby kind of runs into this problem where a lot of games, they would rely too heavily on using old songs, and then you get games like, I think either Squeak Squad, I think is the one, and Squeak Squad and Amazing Mirror that had no real classic Kirby songs, which kind of made them overall weaker. This one had a great balance of new compositions and songs from older games. They had, and usually remixes from Kirby 64. There was a great remix they used for a few levels. Just general music from entire Kirby history. And then in the extra stages, they usually use tracks straight from older games.
Yes, I played the extra stages. Yeah.
Which was a neat way to incorporate, because people love Kirby music, but there's always that complaint like, oh, there's not enough, there's too much. So having the straight rips from the older games in the extra stages was a great way to do that. I love the battle theme for the Triple D, whatever the DDD clone is, because in the second form, because it's just you're fighting DDD, and you're wondering, where's the DDD theme? Like, DDD theme, da-dum, da-da-da-dum, da-dum, like, it's very classic.
Yeah.
It's not there. You get to the final form, it's there, remixed with the ending theme from Revenge of Meta Knight from Superstar, which I would never think to add to that theme, and it's done beautifully. Like, it's integrated fantastically.
Yeah, so I guess it sounded pretty good.
Yes.
It's a great game.
I'll just say in terms of my final thoughts, I'll also say, again, I've only played 2 Kirby games, but I thought it was a little short. I mean, it had 6 worlds, but you could beat the game in under 5 hours, and I thought pretty light on content for me. It was fun, and I locked mostly every stage and the extra stages, but
I thought it was a bit on the short side.
Yeah, I mean,
for a Kirby game, it's a little short. Like I remember I took a long time to beat like stuff like Superstar Ultra.
Superstar is very packed
with content.
Yeah,
that took me a long time to beat that. But with this one, it was just if I had a day to sit down and play it, I probably would have beaten it all in one day.
I'm not sure if we care about spoilers too much, but I love the final boss.
Well, we can give a spoiler warning.
Okay, spoiler warning at this point. So, the final boss, that was unexpected. Like
Yeah,
it's
that was nice.
it's similar to the Kirby 64 boss in gameplay. Like it's the same kind of 3D
Okay.
Just shoot the
gameplay
gun,
style,
yeah.
like very similar. But I managed to avoid spoilers for that. So at the end of the game, oh no, giant ship is crashing down,
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure 2 style or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Kirby's like, oh no, I'm just this stupid little Kirby, what's happening? He looks out the window, Meta Knight shows up on his battleship, and then Kirby goes into, or the sort of main villain gives Kirby a mech. Kirby goes into it and jumps onto the halberd, Meta Knight ship, and transforms into the halberd, but pink. And it's the first time you can control the halberd, sort of, and that was awesome.
And that was a fairly tough boss fight too. I pixel up health left. I couldn't even see my health bar anymore. And so I managed to beat the final boss. I was like, kill me.
And the final boss ends up, that was a fairly
It had two
challenging
forms.
final
Yeah.
boss. And its final form sort of looks like a character from Kirby Superstar, which was very weird.
Okay.
It wasn't named the same thing, but I think in Superstar it's Nova, which is the wish-granting alarm clock that Marx named like Karl Marx, but he's the jester thing I mentioned earlier, wishes upon. So it was neat to see that character design kind of come back, even if it was a different form.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, very good final moments.
Yeah, I was like probably the only time in the game I was kind of surprised. Like, oh, cool! It's like 4-part.
And we
final boss
keep up
fight.
the Kirby theme of finishing off bosses very violently. The final boss of every Kirby game seems either get ripped apart or cut in half, and I was like, I love
Kirby
that.
can get really violent in that,
Yeah.
that way.
He's a warrior, you know. He's
Yeah,
strong.
Yeah, Kirby,
Swallows his enemies and digests them. And
no, but
It's another
I think it was it Return of Dreamland where you took the giant sword and literally just chopped the boss into like a million pieces.
like
what?
and like just
Ugh.
speaking of Return to Dreamland quickly, I like how in this game the cute secretly villain is not secretly villain. Like she comes out right at the beginning. Hi, I'll be your villain today. I have cloned your friends, and you'll fight them. Like, it's very, I'm glad they didn't do the Return to Dreamland. I'm a good thing. Will you trust me? No, they went right for it. Like, I'm the villain. I'm the one roboticizing or assimilating all of your world. Please stop. You're fighting me. I'm going to win. She was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll say overall, I did enjoy the game. I don't think I'd honestly want to go buy any other Kirby game after this. Like,
Superstar.
Superstar. I tell you my Superstar.
Okay, so I'll play Superstar, but unless they put another thing like the mecha, I'm not really enticed to go, play all the Kirby games. And for $60, which was the price of the game, because they've gone up.
Because Canada. Or Canadian, by the
I'm
way.
glad you got this one.
Alright, before we conclude today, we're just going to do a bit of a preview of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which just came out, I believe, today. So,
Just today.
Nathan, take us away.
Take us away. Alright, so I did a small preview of Tokyo Mirage Sessions last time, so this will most likely be our next review, considering that Nintendo's got nothing else coming out in the next few months. So Tokyo Mirage Sessions we should be covering that. So Tokyo Mirage Sessions it's another game though that's not developed by Nintendo itself. It's by third-party Atlas. So Atlas is famous for the Shin Megami Tensei and Persona series. So they got together with Nintendo and made a crossover. This was initially announced back in January 2013. Back when Nintendo, after the Wii U kind of flopped in the holiday, Nintendo was like, don't worry, we have games. And they literally showed every single game that they had in the pipeline, including this one, which at the time they announced it was only 2 months into development. And so for Tokyo Mirage Sessions, it kind of went through the period where people were kind of hesitant on it, and because it didn't really fit with the Shin Megami Tensei or Fire Emblem series. But now we've got. But
It's sort of its own beast in a way.
it's its own beast, which is why I looked at it. After I saw what it looked like, I was like, okay, we got to treat it as something different. And one thing I talked about last time with it is they brought in a lot of talent for this game. So Atlas is obviously a big gaming talent because the Shin Megami Tensei and Persona series have almost kind of not really penetrated the mainstream, but they're way bigger RPG series than a lot of other JRPGs. They hired the composer for Love Live for this. Love Live is one of the biggest phenomena to ever take over Japan in the recent years, and mostly because of its music. And then we've got, and I remember Nintendo saying that we didn't want to hire, like for Fire Emblem Fates, they hired a different voice actor to do Aqua or Azura. They had hired like a different voice actor to play Azura, then they hired a different voice actor
Like they kept the
to
Japanese
sing it.
voice actors.
Yeah. Like even in English, they had to hire a different.
Okay.
They hired a voice actor. They had to hire a singer because the different voice. But in this game, Nintendo specifically went after Japanese voice actors who could voice act and sing really well.
I'm glad they kept the Japanese voices because I think this game would have been a disaster with English.
If I had to listen to English translated Japanese songs, I might have to shoot myself.
Or English voice actors trying to act like J-pop stars. I
don't think I would have bought this game otherwise. But yeah, this game is Japanese dub only, so just a fair warning for anyone who is English dub loving people out there. I'm gonna anger a lot of people if I say that. But so at the time of shooting, I've actually gotten a couple hours in the game. So
yeah,
yeah.
No surprise.
Well, not a really big surprise. I went up straight this morning and went and bought it. But one of my favorite parts of this game is the unique battle system. So the way they've integrated Shin Megami Tensei into the series is you can pick on weaknesses, like there's Fire Emblem weaknesses too, but in Shin Megami Tensei, if you pick on a weakness, it does a lot more damage than it would normally. And then in addition, your party members can also attack in with their own attacks if you pick on a specific weakness or and you have the skills necessary for it.
So it's sort of used for that Fire Emblem system to kind of use the strength and weaknesses system.
Yeah, except Shin Megami Tensei is almost essential for the gameplay.
Okay.
Shin Megami Tensei's games are usually so hard that you absolutely have to pick on weaknesses. So I'm glad that they found a way to kind of marry the two systems together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's shaping up pretty well. I mean, I don't really like a lot of JRPGs. I barely play or buy any, but I'm buying this one because it just kind of looks pretty interesting. It looks like they somehow put these two franchises together and made something unique. And I really like that they kind of embraced the sort of J-pop vibe it has, or idols, the sort of idols, and I feel like if they kind of tried to westernize it, it would have been terrible and a disaster. So good on someone Nintendo's thinking and making the right decision there. So yeah, look forward to that in our next episode. But that's all the time we have this week,
or this month,
This year.
We'd like to give a shout out, we like to do them, to E.G. Anoma and the Breath of the Wild development team for giving younger developers a larger role in making the game and breaking franchise conventions. I feel like it's one of the main reasons why Breath of the Wild is so different. Like Anoma was like, I'm glad we had younger people on the team to tell us that we don't have to follow these 30-year-old conventions. So good on them, and I think a couple other franchises we mentioned today might need to get some new blood in there.
Miyamoto, what hobbies do you have? We need a new game.
Meanwhile, can we have a game where you biking to work or not be on bike to work?
Yeah. Miyamoto Quit Gambling Simulator 6000.
And we at the beginning like to thank Jeff and Victor for joining us today. Thanks a lot, guys.
No problem. Thanks. Great to be here.
And Victor was also our editor today,
Yay.
so thanks a lot for that.
No problem.
Our main theme is provided by the YouTube audio library. For those listeners who want to just listen to the audio, track in their own time, please check out our link to our SoundCloud page. We have a couple episodes up there, so you'll see the most recent episodes if you want to listen to the audio in your own time. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at thebigndpodcast@gmail.com. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe to our channel. Tune in next time for your source for all things Nintendo. I'm Mike.
Nathan.
And this is The Big End.